Everything is fine. Nobody is sick. Nothing terrible has happened. Your life is not in crisis. And yet, somewhere beneath the surface of your ordinary day, there is a quiet hum, a background frequency that something is off, that you have forgotten something important, that something is about to go wrong, that you need to check, prepare, brace. You cannot point to it, you cannot name it, but it is there, and it has been there for so long that you have started to wonder if this is simply what being you feels like. It is not. That feeling has a name. It has a neurological explanation, and most importantly, it has an origin. Because nobody is born feeling like something is always wrong. It gets installed, quietly, early, and without your permission. By the end of this video, you will understand exactly where that feeling came from, why your nervous system learned to generate it, and what it actually takes to turn the volume down on an alarm that has been ringing for years with nothing to justify it. Chapter 1. The Sentinel Brain. Your brain has one biological priority that overrides every other function. Not happiness, not connection, not meaning or achievement or love. Survival. And survival requires threat detection at all times, without exception. Your nervous system runs a continuous background scan of your environment, looking for anything that could hurt you. And it runs this scan whether you are in genuine danger or sitting safely on your sofa watching television. The scanner does not take days off. It does not clock out at night. It does not stop because your conscious mind knows everything is fine. Here is the reframe. That background feeling that something is wrong is not anxiety. It is not weakness. It is your sentinel brain doing exactly what it was designed to do, running its scan, flagging ambiguity, maintaining readiness. The problem is not the scanner. The problem is that the scanner's sensitivity dial got turned up too high at some point, and it never got turned back down. You sit down to enjoy a quiet evening. Within minutes, your mind is running a low-level inventory. Did I respond to that email? Is that relationship okay? What was that feeling earlier? Is something wrong with my health? Not because anything is actually wrong, but because a highly sensitized scanner finds ambiguity everywhere and flags it all as potential threat. When you notice the scan running, try naming it rather than following it. My scanner is running. This is not information about the world. It is my nervous system doing its job. I do not need to act on every alert it generates. What does your personal scanner most reliably flag? Relationships? Health? Work? The future? And has it ever actually been right in proportion to how often it rings? Chapter 2. Where it got installed. Here is the part nobody talks about. That background sense that something is wrong did not arrive fully formed in adulthood. It was learned. Specifically, it was learned in an environment where the feeling was accurate, where something actually was wrong or unpredictable or unsafe, and your young nervous system did the most intelligent thing available to it. It stayed alert. Children who grow up in environments with emotional unpredictability, chronic tension, a parent whose mood was never quite readable, homes where conflict was always possible even when things seemed calm. These children do not develop anxiety disorders. They develop hypervigilance, a finely tuned early warning system that kept them one step ahead of the next shift in atmosphere. It worked. It protected them. And then they grew up and moved into safe environments, and the early warning system kept running because nobody told it the threat had passed. Your nervous system learned that calm was temporary, that the quiet before the storm was not safety, it was the warning, and so it learned to treat peace itself as suspicious, to fill the absence of a known threat with the scanning for an unknown one. You are in a period of relative stability. Things are genuinely okay, and yet you feel more anxious than when things were actually difficult. This is not irrational. It is your nervous system doing exactly what it learned, treating the absence of a visible threat as the most dangerous condition of all, because that was the moment when things used to change without warning. When the scanner activates in calm conditions, try telling yourself, "The peace I am feeling is not a warning. I am allowed to let this be safe. My nervous system learned old rules in an old environment. Those rules do not apply here." Think about the environment where you first learned that something could always be wrong. What was the specific unpredictability your young nervous system was tracking? Chapter 3: The Anxiety Gap. Here is something that will reframe the entire experience of background dread. The feeling that something is wrong almost never attaches to a real and present threat. It attaches to a gap, the space between where you are and where you think you need to be safe. Psychologists call this the anxiety gap. It is the distance between your current reality and the imagined state where you would finally be allowed to relax. When I have more money, then I will feel safe. When this relationship is more secure, then I will stop worrying. When my health is confirmed, then I can breathe. The gap produces the hum. And here's the brutal part. The gap never closes, because the moment you approach the imagined safe state, the mind moves it further away. The scanner needs a gap to justify its operation, so it generates one. This is why the feeling persists across genuinely different life circumstances. When things were difficult, you had real reasons to feel like something was wrong. When things improved, the feeling remained because the scanner simply found new gaps to monitor. The content of the worry changes, the background hum does not. You have resolved the thing you were most worried about 3 months ago. For 2 days you felt lighter. Then the scan found the next gap, a new uncertainty, a new potential problem, a new distance between here and safe. The hum resumed, not because anything went wrong, because the scanner found its next gap to monitor, and the gap is what generates the feeling, not the specific content inside it. When you notice the gap thinking beginning, interrupt it with, "I am looking for a condition of safety that my mind will never allow me to reach." Safety is not a destination, it is a decision I can make right now about this moment. What is the specific gap your anxiety is currently monitoring? What is the thing that, if resolved, you are convinced would finally allow you to relax? Chapter 4: The Cost of Constant Readiness. Hypervigilance feels like preparedness. It feels responsible. It feels like you are simply someone who takes things seriously, plans ahead, does not get caught off guard. From the inside, staying alert feels like the sensible choice of a thoughtful person in an uncertain world. What it actually is exhausting. And the exhaustion is not incidental. It is the direct physiological cost of maintaining a threat response in the absence of a threat. When your nervous system stays in a low-level state of readiness, cortisol slightly elevated, amygdala slightly activated, body slightly tense for action, it consumes enormous resources that are then unavailable for genuine rest, for creative thinking, for deep connection, for the kind of presence that makes life feel actually lived rather than monitored. The chronically vigilant person is running their engine at 30% capacity at all times just to power the alarm system. They wonder why they are tired. They wonder why joy feels effortful. They wonder why they cannot fully relax even in genuinely good moments. This is why. You are on holiday. The environment is beautiful. The people you are with are people you love, and you cannot fully arrive into it. There is a subtle background monitoring still running, checking for threats, managing potential problems, maintaining readiness for something that is not coming. The holiday is happening in the foreground, the hypervigilance is running in the background, and the background is consuming enough of your resources that the foreground never gets your full presence. Start noticing the physical cost rather than just the mental one. Where in my body am I holding the readiness right now? And what would it feel like to put it down for just the next 10 minutes? Chapter 5. Turning down the volume. The background feeling that something is wrong does not switch off overnight. It was installed over years, and it recedes over time. Not through insight alone, but through the repeated experience of safety that the nervous system has not yet learned to trust. Psychologists call this process neural reconsolidation. Every time you sit in a genuinely safe moment and consciously choose not to scan, not to prepare, not to manage, and nothing bad happens, you provide your nervous system with new data. Data that contradicts the old learning. Data that says calm can be trusted. That peace does not have to be treated as a warning. That this moment is allowed to be what it appears to be. The practice is not positive thinking. It is not telling yourself everything is fine. It is something more specific and more honest, deliberately staying in the present moment long enough for the nervous system to register that its old predictions are not coming true. You are not arguing with the alarm. You are simply not following it. And over time, with repetition, the alarm begins to lose its automatic authority. You sit in a quiet moment. The scanner activates. Rather than following the scan into its inventory of possible problems, you place your attention on the specific physical reality of the present moment, the temperature of the room, the weight of your body in the chair, the actual evidence available to your senses right now. You are not managing the anxiety. You are feeding your nervous system new data about what calm actually feels like when you stay in it long enough to let it register. Practice this once a day with this anchor. Right now, in this specific moment, what is the actual evidence that something is wrong? Not might be wrong, not could go wrong, but is wrong right now. The feeling that something is always wrong is not a personality trait. It is a learned nervous system response to an environment that required it. And learned responses can be unlearned, not quickly, not completely, but genuinely and progressively. This week, one practice. When the background hum starts, and it will, do not follow it into its inventory. Do not try to identify what is wrong, solve what might be wrong, or prepare for what could go wrong. Instead, ask the one question from Chapter 5. What is the actual evidence, right now, in this specific moment, that something is wrong? Not might be, not could be, is. Most of the time, the honest answer is nothing. And that nothing, registered slowly, repeatedly over days and weeks, is how a nervous system that learned to expect the worst begins to learn something new. You were not born feeling like this. It was installed in you by circumstances you did not choose in a time when it genuinely helped you. You do not have to be grateful for it, but you do not have to keep running it either. The alarm has been ringing for a long time. You are allowed to check the building, find nothing wrong, and finally let it rest. If this named something you have been carrying quietly, share it with someone who needs to hear it. Subscribe to Inner Logic, new psychology every week.